Hello and welcome to this special bulletin on the top international stories making waves around the globe. Our top story is the tragedy from Louisville in the United States. 5 people have been killed and 7 have been injured, including 2 police officers after a man opened fire at a bank in Louisville in Kentucky. The police gunned down 25-year-old Connor Sturgeon. 2 police officers were also injured in this gunfight. The police say Sturgeon live-streamed parts of the shooting on Instagram. Louisville Mayor Craig Greenberg condemned the attack, calling the attack an evil act of targeted violence. Officers said Sturgeon, who did not have any priors, joined the branch of the Old National Bank on East Main Street as a full-time employee last year. US President Joe Biden also took to Twitter to condemn the shooting. I'm joined by Amy Tarkanian, Republican strategist and former Nevada GOP chairwoman. Thank you, Ms. Tarkanian, for joining us on CNN News 18. Now, what we are learning is that the Louisville mass shooter is the 7th in 11 months to open fire with an AR-15, that powerful rifle that is very easily available in the United States. If not strict background checks and strict gun control, what, in your opinion, is the solution to this unprecedented wave of gun violence in the United States?
Well, I think that the items you listed are actually in desperate need. And I know many of my Republican friends might disagree, but obviously what we are doing, or what we are not doing, rather, is not working. So I think that we do need to have stricter universal background checks at this point. We are now finding that a number of these shooters obviously have some mental distress. There's something else that's going on. There's a deeper issue going on with these individuals. And so we need to combine that also with better mental health policy as well. Ways that we're able to maybe stop these individuals before it gets to this, of a dire situation. Maybe where we're able to look into a person's background and see, do they have a history of needing to get on certain medications? Because let's be honest here, medication is intended for good, right? It's meant to help an individual, but there are some medications that don't do well with individuals and do cause psychosis or do change a person's personality and can actually cause more severe depression than what the individual actually started off with. So I think it's a combination of things that we need to address here and take seriously. And also, we see an increase dramatically in the last 3 or 4 years because of COVID. And so you had a number of individuals, adults and young children, that were extremely depressed or angry and didn't know where to turn. And so you had also people who, they were also bored. And I hate to say that, but some kids were bored. And so they were causing chaos and, trying to get into trouble. Sometimes any attention is good attention for some of these younger people. And when you're not getting the attention that you need at home, or the love, or, the type of warm atmosphere that maybe one needs in order to grow up and be a decent citizen, it does make life more difficult. And so I think we need to take a hard look at our current gun laws, where we can close up some of these loopholes, and also look at how can we help people of any age, any background on mental health.
Right. But Ms. Tarkanian, it's very refreshing to hear this perspective coming in from a Republican strategist. But if we just look at, the fountainhead of Republican narratives, which is the CPAC conferences, in those, there is always the pitch that more guns makes Americans safer. Now, you're giving me a completely different perspective, saying that there needs to be a renewed look at America's gun laws. Would you say within the Republican Party, within the top brass of the Republican Party, there is a shift in thinking? Because politically, there seems to be a kind of a movement from the Republican side into the Democratic side when it comes to the issues of gun violence, which affects people across races, across states, and across ages as well.
Sure. Well, let me give you an example, because I know obviously the saying goes, a bad guy is always going to be able to figure out a way to get a weapon, right? It doesn't matter if it's a gun, a knife, a vehicle, whatever it may be. A bad person's going to do bad things. Now, a good responsible citizen, many gun owners fall into this category. And so that's the the argument that many Republicans have is, why would you want to punish an upstanding citizen who's following the rules of owning a gun when bad people are never going to follow the rules, no matter what policy you put in play? Now, I completely agree with that. However, now Governor Ron DeSantis out of Florida, I am actually a big fan of his, but I am not a fan of the rule that he just passed with his legislature, in being that you can open carry, means you're free to own a gun, roam around the state of Florida without having a permit. And I completely disagree with that. I still think that if you're going to be a responsible gun owner, that you should still have to take a course on how to handle that gun and then understand what the laws are on the books. So, I think we're at a crossroads here where we need to really find out, what do we actually want in this nation when it comes to our gun laws? Do we want to have everyone run amok? Or do we actually want to put some rules in place to at least, make some safety guards necessary?
Right, but Ms. Tarkanian, you're talking about a crossroads, and you took the name of Ron DeSantis, one of the front runners for the Republican ticket for the 2024 presidential elections. Where do you sense that shift is going to happen? Because the NRA still has a stranglehold over the Republican Party. Do you see this change that you're talking about coming in the next 10 years or even beyond that?
Well, I would like to think so. I'm not exactly sure if we are going to see that in the next 10 years. And unfortunately, it's because money, it talks and it makes the world go round. And so you can even look at organizations on the left that donate large amounts of money to candidates. And that's the way that you see then people govern. Unfortunately. And so I think the NRA, until the NRA maybe dries up of some of its funding, we're going to probably see a number of those that are supported by the NRA continue to push these current gun laws that really aren't working.
Right, but at the same time, what you also see from elements like Fox News is the demonization of gun activists. I also remember that there was this entire pitch that these gun activists are actors. This is an entire conspiracy. Then they put in the boogeyman, George Soros, and they bring in all the narratives are mobilized to discredit this entire pitch to kind of relook at the gun laws because all the people are asking for, and I think over 90% of Americans agree on this, that common sense gun legislation, so that a person with mental illness does not get their hands on a weapon, and at the same time, a powerful weapon like an AR-15, something you use in war zones, is not accessible to common Americans. That kind of common sense gun legislation, if that is not pushing the Republicans to change their thinking, why do you think it's so difficult to mobilize the voters against those Republicans to ensure that they change their thinking and this becomes a mainstream issue across America? What are the political challenges there?
Sure. Well, two things. One is the one that I already stated. It's the fact that why would you want to punish good citizens who are following the rules, right? Because bad people are going to do bad things no matter how many rules that you put on the book. So that is their frame of thinking. I understand that. Now, the second thing is, I just don't see there being a major shift, because you mentioned a conspiracy, when you mentioned Soros, but there is a legitimate conspiracy, which we know if you go look back in history, let's take the Armenians, for example, their guns were taken away. And then what happened after that? There was an Armenian genocide by the Ottoman Empire. So it is a legitimate concern that people are afraid that their government is going to take their guns away and then do atrocious things to them. So those two concerns right there, I think really are what spearhead the Republicans in wanting to keep the rules the way that they are.